Let's talk about another moment from this Laura Ingraham Trump interview that drove me crazy and was wild to observe. So if you're watching, to clarify, on YouTube, we're actually going to upload this segment first, and then in a little while, the one that I already recorded will come out on more clips from this interview. But let's focus in on one of them for this, which is, as we see so often, the MAGA host, Laura Ingraham, trying to get Trump to put a talking point to rest, which is just an accurate description of Trump's intentions, which is sort of the broader characterization of him threatening democracy. And we've seen with Hannity, I'll remind you of that. And then here with Laura Ingraham, they'll go, can you just tell everyone you're not going to try to stay in power after 4 years if you were to win? Can you just tell everyone you're not going to be a dictator? Those sorts of things. And then he'll just dodge, which doesn't help their argument that it's the crazy left-wing media making this up. Because if it were, couldn't he just quickly go, oh yeah, you're exactly right, they're making it up, that's ridiculous, I would never abuse power as president. Done. But instead, it'll stretch on for minute after minute, as you're about to witness, where she's trying to get him to just say it's a crazy talking point that's not true, but he won't. And before I play that, it reminded me of this Hannity interview moment on the dictator remark, where he presses him, and Trump will not denounce the idea that he wants to be a dictator.
You said, I would be dictator for the day and just to secure the border and drill for oil. I thought it was tongue-in-cheek. I was sitting there with you.
You had to be sitting there to tell that he was being funny, even though we had high-def cameras pointed at him for a live broadcast on television program. Sorry, I drank water and too quickly tried to cut in on this. But sitting there, you could tell he was just being silly, goofy fun.
I thought it was tongue-in-cheek. I was sitting there with you. However, my question is a very serious one. You know, people are claiming you want retribution. People are claiming you want what has happened to you done to Democrats. Would you do that ever?
Look, what's happened to me has never happened in this country before. And it has to stop because...
Wait a minute. I want to hear that again. It has to stop.
Well, it does have to stop because we're not going to have a country.
And if you're
anymore.
elected, what does that mean? Define that.
Look, what I've gone through, nobody's ever gone through. I'm a very legitimate person. I built a great business. Everything's been...
Except for all that fraud.
I have been under siege. Nobody's ever seen anything like this in this country. Now, in other countries...
And then it just goes on and on and on for like 2.5 minutes as Hannity tries and Trump continues to dodge instead of saying, no, I would never abuse power. And we've had a few of those types of moments. In the latest interview, he was asked about the moment I'm about to play you and did a similar thing. So here's the moment he'll get asked about.
And again, Christians, get out and vote just this time. You won't have to do it anymore. 4 more years, you know what? It'll be fixed. It'll be fine. You won't have to vote anymore, my beautiful Christians. I love you, Christians. I'm a Christian. I love you. Get out. You got to get out and vote. In 4 years, you don't have to vote again. We'll have it fixed so good you're not going to have to vote.
Right. So then, eventually, in this clip, Trump will sort of address it. But watch how long it takes and watch how uncomfortable Laura Ingraham is. Please just tell them you didn't mean that the way that they're saying you meant it, which is people wouldn't have to vote because you would have so utterly deteriorated democracy that Republicans would be staying in power regardless of the strong democratic voice of the people.
They're also attacking you for other ridiculous reasons. They're saying that you said to a crowd of Christians that they won't have to vote in the future.
Yeah, let me say what did I mean by that. I had a tremendous crowd speaking to Christians. I mean, this was a crowd that liked me a lot. I think I'm at 97% or something. And they're treated very badly by this administration, okay? Catholics are treated unbelievably.
I'm sorry. Stay on subject. He gets asked about him saying Christians won't have to vote. And his response is, they love me, 97% of them. 97% of who? The crowd that was there? Yeah, okay. Huh?
I mean, this was a crowd that liked me a lot. I think I'm at 97% or something. And they're treated very badly by this administration, okay? Catholics are treated unbelievably. They're like persecuted.
False.
And if I might say, before I go into the other, Jewish people, if you're Jewish and you vote for Biden or the Democrats or Kamala or whoever's going to run, I guess it's going to be her. But if you voted for her or the Democrats, you should have your head examined, because nobody's ever been treated so badly by this. This administration is destroying Israel, et cetera, et cetera. So with respect to like a statement like I made, that statement is very simple. I said, vote for me. You're not going to have to do it ever again. It's true. Because we have to get the vote out. Christians are not known as a big voting group. They don't vote. And I'm explaining that to them. You never vote.
That is just not statistically true, but
This time, vote. I'll straighten out the country. You won't have to vote anymore. I won't need your vote. You can go back
So
to
you
not
meant you don't have to vote for you because you have 4 years in office.
Look. Christians are known. You know who else doesn't vote? Gun owners don't.
look at how uncomfortable Laura Ingraham is. Why won't he just answer the question directly?
Don't vote.
But
They don't
just to
vote.
be clear, what you're saying, though, you're not saying it's being interpreted as you are not surprised to hear by the left as well. They're never going to have another election. He's saying there's not. So
First time I've even heard.
Can
No,
you
no.
even just respond to that?
I said Christians. I started off by saying,
We heard what you said. We are asking what you meant, okay? He just keeps repeating the same thing over and over. Your brain needs to be examined, Donald.
I started off by saying, just so you understand, you never vote. Christians do not vote well. They vote in very small percentages. Why? I don't know. Maybe they're disappointed in things that are happening, but for a long time, I say, you don't vote. I'm saying, go out. You must vote. November 5th is going to be the most important election in the history of our country. Whether you vote early or not, we should have, by the way, one-day voting. We should have voter ID. We should have proof of citizenship. And we should have paper ballots, okay? That's what we should
Totally
have. But we
agree.
don't have that. But I said to the Christians in the room, thousands of them, I said, typically Christians do not vote. Why it is, I don't know. You're rebellious. Something's going on. Don't worry about the future. You have to vote on November 5th. After that, you don't have to worry about voting anymore. I don't care, because we're going to fix it. The country will be fixed, and we won't even need your vote anymore, because frankly, we will have such love. If you don't want to vote anymore, that's okay. And I think everybody understood it. I didn't know there was any
Yeah,
difference.
well, I mean, because they're.
It's just the radical left media is so unfair to you. They're so unfair to you because they find you someone who tried to block the peaceful transfer of power to stay in power after losing an election. They find it concerning that at a rally you would say, if you elect me into office once, you don't need to worry about going out and voting after that because it's going to be so fixed. Maybe we take note of that, but it doesn't help when you then answer to that point by waiting 2 minutes and 40 seconds to finally say the reason they want to have to go and vote is because there's going to be such love, indicating what he's trying to say that he meant, believe him or not, is that he'll be so popular and Republicans will be so popular that Christians won't have to go, or those particular Christians won't have to worry about going out and voting because everyone's going to go vote for the Republican Trump sort of candidates, even though he wouldn't be able to run again, but based on how great of a job he did. So when I originally covered that clip, I talked about how Ruth Ben-Ghiat, an authoritarian expert, was sounding the alarms about rhetoric like that, and that's totally fair to sound the alarms and be concerned about him saying stuff to that effect, but that the explanation from MAGA would be, no, he meant that he'll do such a good job, the country will have been so fixed that Christians won't have to worry about voting because everyone's going to go vote, so turnout won't be as important, right? But this is sort of the way that he talks constantly, and then him dodging the question for 2.5 minutes gives even more reason to people for being concerned. But I will say, one of the reasons that I focus in so specifically on certain actions after the 2020 election, anti-democratic, unconstitutional, allegedly illegal actions, and then really overt rhetoric from him, like when he called for the termination of the Constitution, is so that there can't be any of this sort of doublespeak or, oh no, he meant dictator like in a fun, cute way, because you know those sorts of dictators, like a fun drill more sort of dictator, not a bad dictator, and he would just be it for 24 hours. I try to focus on the undeniable, it couldn't have been a joke, as the actions that nearly prevented our democracy from continuing in 2020 demonstrate. And rhetoric like the termination of the Constitution stuff, and him saying the government should come down hard on MSNBC. There's no joke there. There's no double meaning, sort of the bloodbath. Oh, it could have been a double meaning. And if you're ever trying to talk to a Trump supporter, make sure that you are really specific with, we're just going to focus on these. We're not going to jump around to a gazillion different things where you could say, well, that one was sort of silly, or that one was... And let's just focus on the undeniable stuff, him trying to block the peaceful transfer of power. There's no joke there. The fraudulent slate of electors wasn't, haha, just kidding. This is real, dangerous, seemingly unlawful behavior trying to hold on to power despite losing. And then same thing with some of the other stuff we've gone through before, because the way he is able to continue spewing garbage like this is by doing the sort of the plausible deniability way of talking about this. Quick pause from your viewing of this video to request that if you're not already, you would click that subscribe button. Easy, free, but it makes a huge difference. Back to the video. Here's one more clip.
All that, and then they say, well, no, you can't vote for him because he's literally never going to leave office. They're actually still saying that.
Yeah. It's just unbelievable.
But you will leave office after 4 years.
By the way, and I did last time. I kept hearing, he's not going to leave, he's not going to leave. Look, they are the ones that are a threat to democracy.
I know for my regular viewers, you would just turn off the show if I went into another rant, another one, about how Trump and MAGA saying the reason we shouldn't be concerned about Trump's anti-democratic behavior in a potential second term is because he left last time. You're right, he did leave after committing a bunch of crimes to try to stay in power and barely failing because his vice president said no and a bunch of local officials said no. And after blood was splashed across the Capitol grounds from a mob who wanted to hang the vice president for not going along with this illegal scheme, and after he toyed with the idea of invoking martial law, spelled incorrectly by a bunch of Republicans, to seize voting machines and stay in power, but he eventually left because enough people said no. Are those people going to be in his administration next time? Is Mike Pence going to be the vice president? No. Has J.D. Vance indicated he would do what Vice President Mike Pence didn't do? Yes. So you're right, he did leave. Just like how some attempted murderers failed to actually do the murder but should still be held accountable for that. Sometimes you attempt to do something terrible. We learn enough about your character to prevent you from ever doing something like that again without you actually accomplishing the terrible thing you tried to do. Let me know what you thought of all that in the comments. If you want to get extra content daily, you can do so by clicking the join button below.